What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on Get Up, they're going to be talking about, is this the perfect scenario for Kawhi Leonard, having multiple months off and 8 games left in the regular season? So let's see what they have to say about that.
Jalen, I want to get to some basketball with you while I have you here. Kawhi Leonard practiced with the Clippers in the bubble for the first time Monday ahead of the NBA restart. Here's Coach Doc Rivers talking about Kawhi's playing time as they play these first 8 regular season games before they begin the playoffs.
No limits. Kawhi's healthy, for the most part. That still doesn't mean that we don't want to maintain him and get him through the first 8 games and get ready for the playoffs. We want to be smart about this.
So what I take from what Doc Rivers just said is that even though they had multiple months off and there's only 8 games left in the season, that somewhere along the lines, Kawhi Leonard is going to load manage one or a few of those last 8 games of the season. So I don't know. Let's continue.
Trying to figure this out, Jalen. All of this time off, these unusual. Is this good for Kawhi? Like at the end of the day, that it sort of became its own little load management situation here. He hasn't had to play a game in 3 months.
I think this scenario is terrific for Kawhi Leonard, and this is boding well for the Clippers to put.
Actually, this is a good scenario for all players. I mean, anytime you get, months off of playing a sport, all your little knick-knack injuries heal up, and as well as, your larger injuries heal up. So this is not necessarily a unique situation for Kawhi Leonard.
Themselves in position to secure the first championship in the history of their franchise. If you look at all of the contending teams, the 2 from LA and the Bucks in particular, you could throw in the Celtics, Sixers, or even the Houston Rockets. Of all of those squads, none of them except the Clippers can say, this is the best chance in the history of the franchise to win a championship. This is their best chance in the history of their franchise. So therefore, Kawhi Leonard, who a couple of years ago only played 9 games, dealt with a real serious injury. He's doing something that's called recovery in a lot of ways. I remember watching him play in the playoffs last year, Greeny, against the Sixers, who he ultimately made a game-winning 3 against. He was hobbled that series.
Yeah, he was.
He was limping a lot of that series. So this now helps him get 100%. So now you're not going to put him into the bubble and play him 8 straight games and practice him 3 hours a day. You lose everything you gained. The goal is to get him healthy for the playoffs. Because guess what he's not going to do when playoff time comes? Miss games.
So I understand what Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers are doing with the whole load management, but something I just don't quite like about they've had 2 to 3 months off. There's only 8 games left. I kind of like to see Kawhi Leonard finish up those last 8 games. Now, I understand the strategy. You don't want to be playing your players just before the playoffs and risk injury. But there's something about, everybody else is playing. I'd like to see him out there finish those last couple of games. This is a unique situation. Now, if it was they played out through a whole season and the coach wants to sit him out for the last 8 games or, sit him out during a couple of the last 8 games, I have no problem with that. But this isn't that situation. They're coming off of 2 to 3 months of being well rested and at 100%. And then, there's only 8 games left. So I kind of like to see him play those 8 games, but that's my only knock on Kawhi Leonard. Other than that, the guy's a beast. So I don't know. Let's continue.
That's for sure. It really is a fascinating scenario. These 8 games that all these teams will play and how they wind up handling them. I don't know how many minutes a game the Stars are going to play. What do you think they need? Like if you're take Kawhi out of it because he has sort of unique injury history, but a guy like LeBron James, how much does he need to play in these 8 games to be ready for the playoffs?
Half of the game, max 24 minutes a game, depending on the score. What dominant players used to do is get the game over with in the first 3.5 quarters and ice their knees in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, also what dominant players used to do is they used to play the whole season. There was no load management unless you were seriously injured. So there was none of this sit out. I understand some of the strategy towards the end of the season. You might have them, not play as hard or, you not give them play a full game. But there was none of this load management, and in the first week of the season, there was no load management after you've been off for 2.5, 3 months, and there's only 8 games left, and you're going to sit out for load management. There was none of that back in the day. How many years in a row did Michael Jordan play every single game? I think his last three-peat, he never missed a game for 3 seasons. So I don't know. Let's continue.
So if you're the Lakers, you're the Clippers, you get up 15, you get up 20, and hope your bench can secure the lead. But you're not going to tax LeBron James to be playing him 35, 40 minutes.